Before Angelina Jolie became the mother of one of the most famous families in Hollywood, there was one little boy in Cambodia who changed everything. His name was Maddox. Long before the world became obsessed with the Jolie Pitt family, Maddox was the child who transformed Angelina's life from the inside out. He was not just her first son, he was the beginning of her life as a mother, the beginning of the family story that would later become a global fascination, and in many ways, the beginning of a completely different Angelina Jolie. But now, years later, the question surrounding Maddox is no longer only about where he came from. It is about who he has become. Because in early 2026, people noticed something small that seemed to say something very big. In the credits of Angelina Jolie's film Couture, Maddox was listed as Maddox Jolie, not Maddox Jolie Pitt. And that instantly reignited public curiosity about the first son who once stood at the center of Angelina's personal transformation, but now appears to be quietly shaping an identity of his own. Maddox was adopted from Cambodia in 2002, and that moment changed Angelina Jolie forever. He was the child who came before the empire, before Brad Pitt, before the full mythology of the Jolie Pitt family had even taken shape. That is what makes his story different from the others. Maddox was not simply one of the children who entered a famous household. He was the child who helped create the emotional foundation of that household in the first place. And because of that, his story has always carried a different kind of weight. He was there at the beginning, before the headlines became a machine, before the family became a symbol, and before Angelina herself fully stepped into the role that would redefine her public and private life forever. From the outside, the story almost looked cinematic. A global movie star adopts a little boy from Cambodia, and her life changes forever. But what made that story powerful was never just the image, it was everything that followed. Maddox became the emotional turning point in Angelina's life, and over the years, he seemed to occupy a place in her story that no one else could ever fully replace. As he grew older, Maddox never gave the impression that he wanted celebrity for himself. Even while growing up inside one of the most watched families on earth, he seemed to move in the opposite direction, more private, more grounded, more difficult to read. While many celebrity children are pushed toward visibility, Maddox always felt like someone trying to remain just outside the frame. And that is exactly what makes him so fascinating now, because the less he revealed, the more people wanted to understand him. What gives Maddox's story even more depth is that he never seemed disconnected from where he came from. His Cambodian roots remained part of his public story in a way that felt meaningful, especially when he received an executive producer credit on First They Killed My Father, Angelina's Cambodia set film. That moment made his presence feel larger than simple family involvement. It suggested that Maddox was not just growing up in Hollywood. In some way, he was also staying connected to the country that shaped the beginning of his life. Later, he continued moving closer to filmmaking behind the scenes, including work on Maria and then Couture, where he was credited as an assistant director. And that progression matters, because it reveals a pattern. Maddox did not step into adulthood by trying to become a tabloid personality or by turning his last name into a public performance. He seems to have moved toward film, but away from spectacle, toward creative work, but away from noise. And that may be the clearest sign yet of who he's becoming. In a family that has spent decades under intense public attention, Maddox somehow remains one of the most visible and yet least understood figures in the entire story. That contradiction is exactly what keeps people watching. Then came the family fracture that changed the way the public looked at all of Angelina and Brad's children. As the years passed, the Jolie Pitt breakup stopped feeling like simple celebrity gossip and started looking more like a painful family rupture that left lasting emotional distance behind it. Maddox's name was often mentioned first whenever that distance became part of public conversation. But the strongest version of this story is not to overstate what has never been fully confirmed. It is to stay with what is visible. And what is visible is this. Maddox appears to have chosen a quieter life, a more guarded identity, and now even a different professional name in the credits of his mother's latest film. In Couture, he was listed as Maddox Jolie. In Maria, he had been credited as Maddox Jolie Pitt. That difference may look small on paper, but in a family this famous, small changes can carry enormous meaning. Whether people see it as a personal choice, a professional choice, or a reflection of deeper family distance, one thing feels undeniable. Maddox is no longer presenting himself to the world the way he once did. And that is why people are paying attention again. So where's Maddox now? The clearest answer is that he seems to be building a life with quiet intention. He appears to be staying close to the film world, but not in the loud, front-facing way people often expect from celebrity children. He is not selling his private life. He is not chasing headlines. He is not trying to turn a famous last name into a performance. Instead, he looks like someone trying to build his future through work, through distance, and through careful self-definition. And maybe that is the most powerful full-circle moment of all. Maddox was once the child who changed Angelina Jolie's life forever. But now, as an adult, he seems to be doing something just as significant. He is quietly changing his own. From Cambodia to Hollywood, from adopted son to the eldest child in a global celebrity family, from the beginning of Angelina's motherhood to a young man choosing how he wants to be known, Maddox's story has never really been about fame alone. It has always been about identity. And right now, the most compelling part of his story may be this. For the first time, Maddox no longer feels like a symbol of Angelina Jolie's transformation. He feels like a man stepping into a life that belongs entirely to him.